In this module, we want to talk about reverse causality, which is especially a problem if we're dealing with cross-sectional observational data. Let's think about the situation where we notice that divorced people are less healthy. So if we think of divorce as our X, and then health is Y, we might assume that actually getting divorced makes people less healthy. But then we have to worry that perhaps it's the other way around, that less healthy people are more likely to get divorced. So the question becomes, does divorce make people less healthy? Or are less healthy people more likely to divorce? Reverse causality is most commonly a concern with cross-sectional studies. When we observe values of all the variables at a fixed point in time, knowing what is cause and what is effect is very difficult. The only exceptions is that sometimes we can claim cause and effect if the x variable that we're looking at in our cross-sectional data is something that we're confident was fixed much earlier in time. So for example, education, height, and other variables don't change much after adolescence. So if we're looking at cross-sectional data, perhaps in a census, then we're looking at, say, education and income, we can be relatively confident that if we do see an association between education and income, it's perhaps more likely to be a cause and effect relationship. At least we don't have to worry about the possibility that it's reverse causality at work. It could be that there's a spurious relationship produced by omitted variables, perhaps parental characteristics influence both education and current income. But again, we don't necessarily have to worry that it's reverse causality. So what do we do about reverse causality? Well, we try as much as possible to use longitudinal data where we have our right-hand side variables, our explanatory variables, measured at earlier points in time. If longitudinal data are not available, then retrospective data may be useful. We may, in our survey, try to at least collect people's histories, their marriage histories, their occupation histories, their educational histories, and so forth. Now, retrospective data may have problems of its own. Can't get into too much detail about it now, but there may be things like survivorship bias, where certain people are more likely to be around right now to be studied. There may also be recall error. In the meantime, though, we basically have to be very wary of claims based on associations reported from cross-sectional data.